Hi guys, welcome to Nice It's Word on the Street podcast. I'm Miss D, and today I'm joined by Andre Borders, who happens to be our community school director, and an awesome teacher here at PS 78, Mr. Harrison. He's one of our amazing teachers here. We also have a student joining us today, Ariana. Say hi.
Hi.
So today, as we close out Black History Month, we will be discussing the history and the legacy of the Negro Leagues as well as its impact on baseball. Let's get to it, gentlemen.
All right. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big baseball fan. And in particular, I'm a student of the game. And one of the most important parts of baseball to me is having inclusion, having us play, having black people play. And many years ago, that wasn't the case. Baseball was an all-white sport, and we were excluded from playing. And as a result, we created our own league, and it was very successful, and we're going to discuss that today. Now, Mr. Harrison,
Sir.
You saw the movie Soul of the Game.
I sure did.
And that was a great movie. It was about the Negro League. Tell me your thoughts on it.
So I was, 16 when that movie came out. And I remember watching that movie and feeling inspired. Understanding through the movie the challenges that, black people back in those times had to go through, where a sport considered America's pastime, where black people living in America wasn't allowed to play at. And it made me feel like, wow, like we really came a long way. And I was 16 at the time. And hearing names like Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, and never hearing of them before allowed for me to see the impact that blacks had on the game, even when they weren't allowed to play it at the professional level.
Very good. That was so important that people like Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Leon Day, there's so many that impacted the game that have records now that still stand. And it's because of them that the players of today, who do we watch today? People like Mookie Betts of the LA Dodgers and players like that.
Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr., Darryl Strawberry from the New York Mets. All these guys stand on the shoulders of these pioneers. Now, do you know a little bit about baseball?
Not a lot. Me and my sister, she likes baseball. She would watch it all the time, but I don't really watch it because I'm more of a fan of basketball, but I'm not hating on it. I haven't really watched it.
Okay, that's all right.
Well, we have to also incorporate the women who paved the way also, like Mamie Johnson and Toni Stone. These women, they challenged the beliefs that many people had at those times, where they would say women weren't able to play men's sports or they couldn't keep up with the men. And these women, they completely pushed through and paved the way for a lot of women in sports today.
Oh, yeah? We can't do it? Watch us. Watch us.
We might do it better.
Yeah.
So
add to her point
yes.
about basketball.
Sure.
Basketball is a very popular sport, right? And we know there's a lot of African Americans playing. But I believe that if it wasn't for the color barrier that was broken with Major League Baseball, people wouldn't have the opportunity that look like us to play in professional basketball or any other professional sport for that matter.
Which actually, I think that's really unfair.
Very unfair, right? Yeah.
In fact, basketball had the same divide. They excluded us from playing as well. And like Mr. Harrison said, having Jackie Robinson break the color line is what opened the door so that others can come in all sports. Now we have black hockey players. When years past, we never played hockey.
And New York City, we live in New York City, right? And what borough do we live in?
Staten Island.
Yeah. And the borough right next to us, Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Where did Jackie Robinson play?
Brooklyn, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Yep. He not only did he break the color barrier, he made history, not just black history, but history. He made history not even 10 miles away from here.
That's amazing. So do you guys want to talk about how they came to being the National Negro League?
Well, it came from a need of not being able to play, not being able to participate in a game that they excelled in. Just like everything else in society, Jim Crow laws prohibited them from doing certain things. They couldn't, we had different water fountains to drink of. You couldn't, if you went to the movie theater, you had to go sit in the balcony if you were black.
Wow.
You couldn't sit on the front row, so there was a lot of segregation. And so the love of the game, everybody loves America's pastime, and so the love of the game forced them to say, you know what, let's create our own leagues so that we can play and enjoy ourselves. And businessmen, black businessmen that had money, they invested in these teams. And one of the first owners was a woman. Effa Manley, she was a woman, and she was one of the first owners of a Negro League team. And so as a result, what happens, you have black business, so who did they hire? Black people. So it created income for the community, and it was fun for everybody to watch the game because everybody loved to watch baseball, but the only game you could watch before this was those of only white players. And so they started off with like 3-4 teams. The next thing, it grew into a big, big franchise in the big league, and this was in 1920.
Do you guys have any favorites?
Oh, boy. One of my favorites is Josh Gibson. And everybody heard of Babe Ruth, who had the home run record for many years. Mm-hmm. But Josh Gibson, legend says that he had more home runs, but because it was the Negro League, they didn't keep the records like they did. But he was probably a better home run hitter than even Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. Who's one of your favorites?
I would have to say Satchel Paige.
Okay.
From watching the movie, Soul of the Game, he was a little older. He was a pitcher, and he was a phenomenal player and a phenomenal pitcher. And he never had the opportunity. Well, he did have the opportunity later in life. Am I wrong?
He was 42 years old when he finally made it.
Yeah, 42 years old. And just watching his story, it's encouraging because, I'm 44, and if I want to go play in the major leagues, I can do it. And then cite him. No, but
Right.
Just think of the struggle that he went through and being in the amazing pitcher he was, and because of the color of his skin, he wasn't able to play in the major leagues. And then having the opportunity to do so at 42 and still play at an elite level, it's encouraging. And also just thinking about the hardships, the love that they had for the games. It was so intense that they traveled, not getting paid what they should have been getting paid because at the time, our people weren't economically, at the top. That's one. And two, they worked so hard to develop an amazing league
Right.
that competed entertainment-wise with their white counterparts, only later on to be recognized and as one of the greats is encouraging. And I'm happy that although history at the time got it wrong, people are looking to make it right by acknowledging those who did pave the way. And I don't think it's just important for African American history or Black history. I think it's important for history as a whole.
Absolutely.
If we are, according to the Constitution, are endowed with our unalienable rights as Americans, all of us, then everyone should feel happy at the fact that these men fought and fought and fought just to be on the stage as the white counterparts, and they were able to succeed.
Okay.
Very good, very good.
Why did they disband?
Well, they disbanded basically in 1945. The Brooklyn Dodgers, that borough we just finished talking about, the owner, his name was Branch Rickey, and he had fought for many years to try to integrate baseball. In other words, to try to get baseball players that were black to play in the regular major leagues. And he kept coming against opposition. So finally he had his opportunity, and they signed a young man by the name of Jackie Robinson, who had previously played in Negro Leagues the year before. Jackie Robinson was picked because he was skilled athletically, and they thought that he would be able to sustain all the attacks that would come his way, all the arguments, all the racial words, all the taunts, and all the teasing. And he proved to be right because he did well. He responded and had a great career. But because he was the first, that opened the floodgates for others to come. And as a result, now if you had the opportunity to play in the major leagues, that's what you wanted to play. Now in the meantime, they had the Negro Leagues, but because that they of them starting the major leagues with their first African American player, the audience started to dwindle down because now people were not watching the Negro Leagues as much. They were watching the Brooklyn Dodgers because Jackie was there. And then when Jackie came, and then there's other people that came. People came like Don Newcomb and their catcher, Roy Campanella, and all these players. So all the other teams in Major League Baseball started getting those other players. And that resulted in them not making as much money, and that's what caused them to disband.
So would you say that they were very successful?
Now, they were successful. They created and had long enough careers for the other teams to see them, and it created income and wealth for the owners and income for the community, and they have a long-lasting legacy, but that the price to pay for them being integrated was for the league to lose money and eventually disband, and it disbanded by about 1950.
What is the legacy of the Negro Leagues?
The legacy of the Negro Leagues is that we have a lot of ball players that came through the major leagues behind it. People like Barry Bonds, who is the all-time home run hitter. People like Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, and all the way down the line to players that play today, like Mookie Betts, like I talked about earlier. The legacy of it is that it's a historical record of accomplishment for our people. For instance, there's a Baseball Hall of Fame for all the ball players that had exemplary records, right, in Major League Baseball. What they did is that they incorporated the Negro League players into that. So we have black people that are now in the Hall of Fame, even if they didn't even play in the major leagues, but they were so good in the Negro Leagues that they've been engrafted. In other words, they've been placed in that high honor. And so that's a great legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if I can add, as I said earlier about the other sports, you have people all around the world now playing baseball. And if you look at baseball today, it's multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
You have people coming from countries like the Dominican Republic
Exactly.
who are now playing baseball professionally in America. And imagine if we didn't have that color barrier being broken. Countries like Japan, where baseball is pretty big, there would be no cross, connection with teams of other countries or professional sports with other countries if it wasn't for the Brooklyn Dodgers taking a chance and allowing an African-American player to play for their team.
Oh, and question, whose jerseys are these?
Okay, let me show you. This jersey right here is the Kansas City Monarchs. That was one of the first Negro League teams. And you know whose jersey this is? Jackie Robinson.
Wow.
He played for them for 1 year before he signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And here's his Brooklyn Dodgers jersey, number 42. He was so good that years after he died,
Wow.
Major League Baseball retired his number. That is a high honor for any sport that a team can take your number and say nobody's going to wear it again.
Yep.
Not only did the Dodgers do that, but every team in Major League Baseball did it. So nobody's ever going to wear that in honor of him. Now this jersey is who I talked about earlier, Josh Gibson.
Gibson.
one of the greatest home run hitters of all time. And we honor him by wearing his jersey. This one right here is special to me because it's Henry Aaron. He was the greatest home run hitter of all time until Barry Bonds beat his record. He had to deal with segregation. He had to deal with people calling him names, and he did it because he was running and trying to break the record of Babe Ruth, and some racist people in the South used to yell at him and curse at him, write him letters saying, if you break the record, we're going to kill you and do all sorts of things. That's what they did back then. And so I honor him when I bought this one.
That is so not cool.
This one right here, feel this, feel the texture. Isn't
Oh,
it
that's
thick?
soft. It's like a sweatshirt.
Yeah. A catcher who came right up after Jackie named Roy Campanella. He was a catcher for the Dodgers, but this is his Negro League jersey when he played for the Royal Elite Giants.
Wow.
He was a great player, and he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's an awesome player, and he died years ago, but we honor him today because of what he did for baseball and for the African American. So aren't you proud of having people like that in your history? Very good.
I know I am.
Same here.
Do you have any more questions?
I was gonna ask, how long have these people been playing baseball?
Well, a lot of them, like we talked about a gentleman named Satchel Paige. He played so long that by the time the Major League team saw him, they signed him when he was 42 years old.
Wow.
And he played, and then he retired. He came back. You know how old he was when he last pitched?
Like 50?
59. 59 years old. He was that good.
He must have been real determined to do that at 59.
He was
Yeah,
very determined.
very.
They said he was so fast that when he went to cut out the light before he went to bed, he would get back in his bed before the light went out.
Oh, wow.
Super
That'd be
fast.
Crazy.
Speed of light. Speed of light.
So, did you learn a little something today?
I know I did.
Me too.
And so I'm so glad that we had this discussion as we celebrate Black History Month. But Black History is not something that we celebrate every this month. What month do we celebrate Black History? Every month.
Every month we celebrate Black History.
Okay? So we'll see you guys next time
Yes.
on our podcast. Thank you for our guest, Mr. Harrison. Thank you.
And thank
Ms.
you.
D.
Yes. Thank you, Andre, Mr. Borders, for joining us as well and educating us. I learned some new things today.
Good. Glad to be part of
I
it.
thank her too.
And we have to thank our very, very special guest, Ms. Ariana Roman.
Woo! Do you want to close out for us?
Well, thank you for watching this podcast. Make sure to please like and subscribe. Now, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.